Hello and welcome to Zak's Traders Cafe. Today I'm joined by Mark Bolton, who is CEO at Panthera Resources. How are you today, Mark?
Very well, Zach. Thank you for having me today.
Well, there are plenty of resources companies on the London stock market, and probably that's where the most enthusiasm is, still is, even in this sort of market. What makes Panthera different from its peers?
Two principal reasons, Zach. One is that our principal asset is now a litigation, an arbitration under the Australian-India bilateral investment treaty. So our value proposition is, whilst it's at the underlying level, is based on an asset. Our real value is driven by the outcome of that litigation. The second is that our asset, that litigation, is fully funded to the extent of 13.6 million US. So we are funded for the next 3 to 5 years in terms of our main asset, which, as you would appreciate in the current market, access to capital is crucial to drive your assets going forward and create value.
So let's go into this litigation. That sounds a bit nasty, but you're suing somebody else. Who are you suing and why?
We plan to issue a notice of arbitration against the Government of India under the Australia-India Bilateral Investment Treaty. We have been working on an asset in India, an absolutely fabulous asset, an asset of what I call a tier one global asset, an asset that would be of interest to all the majors. Unfortunately, that gold asset in Rajasthan has been expropriated, and accordingly, we're taking action under that investment treaty between Australia and India.
And presumably, it wouldn't be expropriated if it wasn't a good asset.
I can't comment on the motives of the Government of India. All I can say is legislation was introduced in 2021. Which essentially cancelled our rights and provided no path forward in terms of taking that asset into development.
So litigation is normally a very expensive process, and people try and avoid it if they can. In your case, your litigation is fully funded.
It is. And
it's essentially, I suppose, a no win, no fee, as you would say in common parlance.
It is exactly that. The litigation, being international arbitration, isn't cheap, and it will take some years to get a result, and obviously, assuming it's successful, recoup the award. At the end of the day, it's an investment decision. You look at the cost of that arbitration and the potential reward, assuming you're successful in getting a sizable award. We have an agreement with Litigation Capital Management, LCM, which is, in my opinion, the most successful player in the space in terms of financing these types of ventures. They've given us a commitment for 13.5 million. We reached financial close a couple of months ago. So we're really just kicking it off, and we're effectively in the early stages of commencing that arbitration. But that funding from LCM is essentially the full cost to take it all the way through to award and collection.
Well, so presumably you're hopeful of success in this case, and you always say that you're hopeful of success in this case. But in this case, you have the backing of a litigation specialist who presumably wouldn't get involved if they didn't think this was going to be a win for your side.
Look, let's be clear that we're a mining company. Although our asset now is principally litigation, we are a mining company, and going forward and developing that asset would be our preference. That's what we do. It's in our DNA. When it comes to the litigation, we looked at the various players, and the top of the list for us, having researched who the main players in the space are, LCM was the top. For a couple of reasons. One is They have specific expertise in mining arbitration, and in particular bilateral investment treaty arbitration. If you look over their track record, they're essentially, that's all they do is litigation finance. They've been doing it for more than 25 years. Their track record of successful outcomes is more than 95%. And that's not over a small population, that's over 250 odd matters. So it's an impressive track record. It was a lengthy process. We were engaged with them for more than 6 months before we actually inked the deal, which was on late February this year. That first phase essentially was the internal due diligence, and then following that we went to a second phase, which was an external due diligence, where LCM identified the key risk areas and put global experts onto those various silos, and that process took another 6 months. So we finally reached financial close in August. So the level of diligence was extraordinary.
And so where does that leave Panthera? You know, you're trading on the stock market at the moment. I think the range in the last year has been 6p to 12p or 14p, something like that. If somebody says, you know, I'm listening to Mark and I like the idea of this, how are they placed in terms of the value in the company at the moment and maybe what it could be?
Look, the challenge, every investment product has its own unique characteristics, be it the asset or the news flow and so forth. The news flow of a litigation, it doesn't have the excitement of, drilling a lithium target in Western Australia or in Chile. It just doesn't. But there are steady announcements as you go through that litigation process. And assuming you're successful, there is effectively a significant reward at the end. So it's a patient investor product, if you like, an instrument, but one that's, I used to look at it in view that, okay, it's a negative because you have to wait for this binary outcome at the end. But actually, that binary outcome at the end flips the other way. There's no bad news. And in the current market, I'll take no bad news any day of the week.
So that means, again, in colloquial terms, at the moment, the shares are valued as if at 6p, or roughly 6p, as if this is not going to happen, the litigation won't be successful. And so, therefore, it gives you that kind of asymmetric risk-reward in terms of what will happen next.
That's a very good choice of words, Zach. Look, it's not for me to comment on value. I'll leave it to more experienced people in market participants. But what I can say is that we'll be releasing our claim in the near future. We anticipate it to be a considerable number, reflecting the quality of the Bhukia project. Under the treaty, we're entitled to fair value damages of what we have lost. And Bhukia project, as I said earlier, is it's a phenomenal asset. Our guesstimate, if you like, of what the project size was or could be is somewhere in the 10 to 20 million ounces. The most recent resource statement by the Indian government itself, the GSI, they reported 6.7 million ounces. So we are dealing with a decent size asset. So that's the prize, if you like, at the end of that litigation process. So we're effectively trading at a fraction of that future value. We're talking very low level, single digit percentage mismatch.
Right, and just say, let's say in X amount of months or years, you win your claim. Would you then go on to develop the project, or would you just say, thank you very much, we're going home?
Look, those decisions are made on the day. Given the opportunity to settle early, either for just a damages amount or a specific performance where the asset is given to us, we'd look on the merits of the day. But it's very hard to turn down that asset. It's that special.
So, but the scenario would be that with either with damages or a full claim win, you would have some or all or even extra money to develop the project.
Oh, okay. Let me be a bit more clear on that. If it goes to an award, the likelihood of being given the asset is very low. The way the treaties work is that essentially it's the government's choice what they do with the asset. But if they breach the treaty, they need to compensate for breaches of thereof. So it's unlikely that you would have a specific performance award. In terms of securing the asset back into our portfolio, it would be could come under a settlement arrangement, and that would effectively be sooner than the award. So, for example, we could agree with the government of India next week on a settlement, and we could be granted the asset. So it's the way I'd look at it is one or the other.
Right. So financial reward, or you get your asset and you're off to the races.
That would be the common history, yeah, of these treaty outcomes or these arbitration outcomes. Yes.
So the time frame is a piece of string, but the probability looks high. That's basically what you're saying.
If you look, I mean, we're obviously biased because we have access to all the legal information. We've evaluated the case. We've been working with one of the global leaders in the legal profession, Fasken Martineau, out of Canada, and more recently with LCM. They've done obviously this thorough review, and they've put $13.6 million on the table on a single bet on this claim, and that's their business. And as we highlighted, their track record is 95+%. So we have a view that the likelihood of success is it's very high. I should point out though, is that the arbitration shouldn't be viewed as a single binary outcome at the end. We are a trading company, and we do expect that as we move through the arbitration process, the market will fairly value that option, that outcome, the probability of success versus failure. At the moment, we're trading at, as I said, very, very low percents of that future outcome. If you look at the peer group, what we see is typically when I say peer group, I mean other companies pursuing similar claim strategies. They typically trade in the range of 10 to 20% of that outcome. So it's not all wait for the end. There is a significant uplift to be had along that journey.
So there will be a price variation as the probability ebbs and flows.
Very much so. You're pricing effectively an option, and it'll be subject to sentiment on the day, be it directly related to our claim or the market environment in general.
Well, we look forward to further developments, and I'm sure you'll update us with glee over the coming months. Mark Bolton, CEO at Panthera, thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.